the United States empire is not growing, just like its economy isn't growing compared to China. China is now a presence everywhere in the world. It is cutting economic deals with every country that will do that with them, which is most countries in the world, overwhelming majority of them. And they're outmaneuvering the United States, and they're leading many to see the United States empire as in a long period of decline. How far it'll go, how long it will last, nobody knows. But the decline is pretty clear. And the Chinese are growing. So there's a kind of natural tendency for the United States to blame the Chinese. And so you get saber rattling, hoping maybe that puffing yourself up as a threat, for example, over the Uyghur minority or over the Hong Kong developments or over the Taiwan status, these are ways to press the buttons, as they say in Beijing. But it's not clear that there's more than, so far, theatrics, political public relations theatrics. And so it is the defense treaty signed between Australia, United Kingdom, and the U.S. To confront China. Again, another one of these saber rattlings. And here's another point. The United States seems to be concerned to mobilize its allies to confront China. Now that the United States seems to have decided that China is the big enemy, which is said openly, they want to mobilize other countries, and so there's all kinds of maneuvers to have alliances geared against China. And the one between the United Kingdom, Australia, and the U.S. was the major one in recent times. That puts Europe, by the way, in a remarkable, difficult situation. Because whether you like it or not, or admit it or not, Europe is now in an altogether new place. After the end of World War II, it was crystal clear. The Europeans were not going to go with the Soviet Union. They were going to go with the United States. And the United States and the Soviet Union were the big competitors, and Europe was the ally, Western Europe, of course, the ally of the United States. Everything is muddy now. The Europeans depend on trade with China more than the United States does. And they depend on investments from China more than the United States does. And the United States, especially under Trump, but even under Biden, is less willing to do for Europe what it once was willing to do. The United Kingdom is clear. They are in the American camp. And the Russians are increasingly making it clear they're in the Chinese camp. But for the rest of Europe, in the middle between England on one end and Russia on the other, it's an open question. And Europe is a very important economic player in the world economy. A divided one, yes, and weaker because of that, yes, but an enormous player nonetheless. And where those countries go, together or separately, in the confrontations between the United States and China will have a major impact on how that competition works out. Last point I want to make. There is a fundamental different strategy emerging on the part of China versus the United States in their struggle, given their interdependence and given their competition. For the United States, it can't really compete very well economically or even now politically. The failure of the tariff wars of Trump, the trade war of Trump, or the kind of verbal maneuvers of Biden are clear evidence that the power, political and economic, isn't there. What the United States does have is a predominance of military power. Would it dare use it? Who knows? But it wouldn't be the first time that an empire losing its political and military clout resorts to what clout it has left. That doesn't usually end real well for anybody, and it may not this time either. The Chinese seem to have decided on a different response. They're not going to count on military, partly because I don't think they want to, or maybe they cannot catch up with the dominance the U.S. military still has. Maybe they can't afford it. So they're trying something else. They are trying to compete around the world by developing a different kind of society. That's the meaning of the recent decisions at the very top of Chinese society to decrease, I'll use a careful word, inequality, to lift the poorest up and to tax the richest to do so, and to force behavior of corporations, public and private, that enhances equality instead of inequality. It is very stark to compare the efforts to go in that direction with the United States, where the level of inequality of wealth and income has gotten steadily worse over the last 25 years, including the 4 years of Trump and including the first year of Biden. There seems no end to the growing inequality here, contrasted with the Chinese apparent strategy of confronting the United States not militarily, but with a quality of the society that may win more hearts and minds than a military approach could hope to do. We will be seeing about that in the months and years ahead.